Welcome back to the dojo, everybody. This is TruTalk with TruMotion, where a couple of guys talk about how to make the world a better place and hopefully make your day a little bit better in the process. My name is Mark, followed by my co-host Stephen. Let's get these things kicked off. Well, first off, we like to do our kind of weekly recap and kind of check in, see how everybody's week's been going. So, Stephen, how's your week been?
Oh, wow. Hi. My week was kind of tough. You were there. I got kind of sick. I kind of had to get some extra rest, and fortunately, it's all behind me now. So I'm ready to move forward and get stuff done. But aside from that, I felt it went really well. It was very productive, and I felt there was a lot of growth at the dojo, both with existing students learning their forms and students that are newer coming on board.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'd agree. It's there's something going through the city, the state, the dojo. A lot of people are sick, and it's really kind of knocking everybody on their butt sometimes. I agree. It's been a good week, but for me personally, it's been a weird week in terms of for me, energy in the dojo. We've had plenty of people, plenty of students. We've had lots of classes. Everything's been good, but for some reason, there's been something off energy wise. Maybe it's me in the dojo, and I haven't quite pinpointed what it is yet. But I'm gonna, because it's been interesting.
I think I know what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's our old enemy, daylight savings time.
Yeah, that's probably, you're probably hitting the nail right on the head with that one, because it's things have been good, but they've just been off.
Yeah.
A little off, and I've been really sensitive to that this year, and it's I've never really experienced effects from daylight savings, but that's probably exactly what it is. So yeah, it's it hasn't been bad, but it hasn't been good at the same time. So it's just been kind of ugh, which is dumb because I feel like all the classes have been good.
Yeah.
So yeah, just interesting thing. I think we need to get rid of daylight savings time.
Let's be like Arizona and just abolish it.
Exactly. Arizona's got something going for them in that one. Let's just get rid of daylight savings time. It's stupid. So no more changing clocks and all that stuff. And if you got lots of watches and clocks, you're like, oh, I freaking hate daylight savings time.
Yep.
I just spent 20 minutes changing the time. Yeah. But all right, we got a good show planned for you today. We got some fun topics to talk about. Some of them came, one of them at least came from Shanna. She thought, we should talk about this. I don't know if we should or not, but hey, we're going to go for it because it's a fan request question. So, but our top 5 for this week are top 5 movie snacks. Okay, top 5 movie snacks. I'll go first with this one. Obviously you got to have movie popcorn.
Obviously.
Okay, if you don't go to the movies and at least get a small popcorn,
did you go to the movies?
Yeah, exactly. Did you even go to the movies, dude? So I would dare say just a good old movie theater butter popcorn. Okay, you can't really go wrong with that. And kind of pairing it with the popcorn, I'm not much of a soda drinker anymore, but an ice cold soda.
Okay.
You know what I
yeah,
mean?
that's
It's that whole
a good combination.
That sweet and salty and whatever, the hot and cold, but man, I don't know what it is, but drinking a soda at the theater, it just tastes different, versus cracking open a can of Coke at home.
Yeah, it's not the same.
No, it's really not the same. So I'd say a nice soda and popcorn.
That's 2.
That's 2.
You got 3 more.
Now I like a variety of types of candies and stuff like that. So it's you can't go wrong with red vines.
Oh, yeah,
Can't
red
go
vines.
wrong with red vines. Not Twizzlers, red vines. Okay, there's a difference.
There is.
Yes. And then most recently, a lot of theaters have been offering them. It's those Reese's Pieces bites, not the cupcakes, but it's almost like their version of M&Ms.
Yep.
Those are really good. Okay, so I'd have to say
awesome.
those 2 candies. And then, finally, I'd probably dare say an icy.
Oh, And icy.
And icy. Yeah.
Huh.
I'd say icy would probably round my top 5 up.
Wow.
Yeah, blue raspberry.
Blue raspberry is the only way.
Yeah, no cherry.
All
Because
right,
then
there
your
we
face
go.
is like red or your mouth is red and it's just
Your
it
mouth
looks weird.
should be blue.
Yeah, exactly. Because it's cold.
Yeah, because it's cold.
Yeah. So what do you got for your top 5?
That's a great list. It's going to be hard to do. Well, I'm going to go with you on as well. In no particular order, I've got movie theater popcorn, something about it. It's the fake butter, probably.
Yeah.
Love it. Then my go-to is Milk Duds. I do enjoy
Milk Duds. Okay,
Milk
yeah.
Duds. I've only really had them at the movie theater, so it's like there's a connection for me.
Yeah.
Gonna have to go with licorice too. I'm not biased on Red Vine or Twizzlers. They each have their strengths.
I'd totally Red Vines.
Oh yeah.
I
Have you ever tried having a licorice straw, dude? That's Twizzlers right there.
That's Red Vines.
What?
Yeah,
No, it's
they
not.
got the bigger hole.
They have the bigger hole.
Yeah.
Red Vines, it is. There we go. There we go. Then let's see. I'm gonna go with gummy worms.
Yes, I love gummy things.
Gummy worms are
Yeah.
great.
Gummy
sour gummy is the best.
Yep.
And then Skittles is my
Skittles.
final one.
Those are all really good. I would dare say like honorable mentions would be like Junior Mints.
Junior Mints, yep.
I try to stay away from things that could possibly melt though.
That's tough.
You know what I mean?
That's tough.
Yeah, that's why gummy things are so good in theaters.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like love gummy stuff. Like anything gummy, it's like, oh, that looks good. But yeah, no, and it's interesting because we were talking about this yesterday, and probably one of the best things that happened with theaters within, the last 30, 40 years is we have a chain of theaters out here in Utah called the Megaplex.
Mm-hmm.
And back in, when did it open? I want to say in 98, 99, it opened. Jordan Commons opened up in Sandy, Utah, and it was the first Megaplex in Utah. It was owned by the Larry H. Miller Group. Larry H. Miller owned the Utah Jazz for a long time, and he owned damn near everything else in Utah. Mm-hmm. But what they did, not only did they have great theaters, like the audio was good, the screens were nice, the chairs were comfy, but they allowed you to take food into the movie theater. So they had restaurants outside where you normally would find concessions. So they had your regular concession stand, but then they would have like a burger shack or a burrito place or a sandwich place. And you could order your food and take your food in with you to the theater, into the movies. And I thought that was the coolest thing ever. And it's like, I'm only going to this theater from now on because you can take like food into the dojo, or not into the into the theater.
Wow. And
like they gave you like this tray that would fit in the cup holder, and you have your own little damn table in front of you. I mean, it was perfect. It was perfect. It was the greatest thing ever. And it was funny because I was talking to Shanna about this last night, and we used to go to the movies like almost every Sunday. Every Sunday we would go to a movie.
Wow.
And then COVID came along and just ruined everything. Because now they shut down the theaters, first off. And two, all the movie companies were like, well, we'll just stream them. So now there's no really incentive to actually go to the theater. Because it's like, I can watch this brand new movie in my home, in my couch, in my own little home theater.
You can have whatever food you want
And
there.
exactly, and I can make my own food. So, 2020, like COVID really screwed up like the movie theater experience for me. So like, and we didn't go to the theater for a long time. Why? Because there's no begging need to be like,
Right.
oh, I need to go to the theater.
The incentive was gone.
Exactly. It's like, because if I wanted to watch a certain movie, I just pull it up on my TV.
Mm-hmm.
So, but then we ended up going to the movies about, I don't know, maybe a year or so later, or maybe 2 years after COVID. And we went into Jordan Commons, and I was literally devastated Because I walked in and they kind of like modeled it after like Main Street USA a little bit, the front entryway. And they had all these, like I said, the restaurants where you could get food and all this other stuff. And everything was all boarded up. All the restaurants were gone. They had one concession stand open. And that place used to be packed all the time. Like, all the time. All the shows were sold out. It was busy. There was life there. And then when I went the last time, it's like I could count the number of people in the theater, in the whole theater, like on one hand. It's like we walked past maybe 2 people. In our theater itself with, 120 seats, there was 4 of us. And it's like, I had this just like sickening feeling in my stomach of like, man, like what happened? Like, this is awful. I haven't been back since because I don't want to feel that way.
Right.
It's like, I don't want to feel depressed after going to a movie.
Yeah, it's the opposite feeling of what you want.
Exactly. But yeah, I can't stand like what the side effects from certain things and all that's had on people, where it's like, man, they had something great going for them. Now it's not there anymore.
Yeah.
So, but that's did you have a certain theater that you were like, man, this is my go-to theater?
Oh, dude. I liked Megaplex. I grew up in South Jordan.
Yeah.
So I had the better part of my life here. So the one in the district was always awesome.
Yeah.
And they had that whole, it wasn't themed like Main Street USA, but they had just a whole circle of restaurants and stuff. And then they had the movie theaters behind them. So they had a big open eating area, and then they had all the theaters behind it. And I never really ate there because I had the habit of like sneaking food in.
The sneaker.
I probably could have just walked in with it, but I was, of course, a little paranoid that they'd take it away.
They're going to put you in movie jail.
And the stuff that I would bring in to eat, they don't necessarily have the right license to serve there, so they know I brought it in, if you get my drift. So I would do, and I did this, and it was really fun. I thought I was so clever. But I did basically a dead drop. I would buy a bag of food, and it would be like chips and pretzels and all the fun snacks that are a little louder. Now that I'm thinking, I'm like, that was kind of a
crunch.
Yeah,
crunch.
kind of a jerk move there. But I would buy it. I would put it in a nondescript bag, and I would put it by the exit door of the movie. And I did this with my brother. So when we went in, we went through our ticket. We went through the ticket line. We got our movie. We'd walk towards the exit door first, and we'd prop open that door, and one of us would run out and grab it, bring in the food.
Yep.
So I thought I was the smartest kid in the world there. I'm like, yeah, I'm so smart.
I'm sticking it to the man.
When I got a little older, I brought a flask in one time, and that was great. I felt like I was super cool. I had a leather vest on. My flask was in my chest pocket. I'm like, they don't know. They don't know anything. They don't see that I have this bulge right here on one side of my body.
Like, is your heart okay?
I'm
it's
like, sir,
beating out of your chest, literally.
But I got a little. I flew a little close to the sun here, because I made my mixed drink, and I put it in the flask, and of course my genius failed to recognize that carbonated beverages, when they're shooken up, they build pressure.
What?
That's crazy, huh? It's like,
man,
you're not supposed to shake these.
Apparently not.
Makes a lot of sense in hindsight. So I poured my little concoction in there, and everything was good. But as I was walking, I was hearing these like metal popping noises, and I would feel it in my chest. I'm like, oh no! I knew exactly what it was. It was the steel popping because of the pressure. Like the flask was getting bigger.
I've created a mixed drink bomb.
Yeah, it was pressurizing itself, and I was like, oh god, I can't do this. So I would go to the bathroom, and I would loosen the pressure, so I could I would obviously not do anything in the bathroom, but this is probably too incriminating. But then by the time I get back to my seat, it's like it's repressurized.
Yeah. So you gotta leave the lid open, man.
That's why I almost slosh everywhere.
Yeah,
so
you gotta be very, very calm and smooth and like ninja-like.
yeah, I'm related to some people. I'm not going to incriminate them, but they use little 5-hour energy bottles, and
What?
those are awesome because they're about shot sized.
Okay.
And you need to go to a movie that's maybe designed for the generation after you, and you still want to enjoy it. You bring 1 or 2 of those energy bottles because like no one's gonna bat an eye at those. It's like I'm just trying to not fall asleep. I paid for this movie.
That makes sense.
Like I'm related to Genius, but I don't think I inherited it.
That's like you see those like Disney moms like take Capri Suns.
Yeah.
And like open up the top and like fill half of it with some sort of liquor and then seal it back up.
Yeah.
You're like, oh my gosh. Like apparently you really need a pick-me-up or a boost while you're at Disneyland. So
gotta have that same enthusiasm for all the things that your kids do.
Exactly. Well, that's a funny story.
Yeah. It was really funny.
Did it make the movie better?
I was paranoid through the movie. I didn't even know. I don't even remember what I watched.
So you're probably like, this movie was awful. You're like probably because I was freaked out.
The cops are gonna show up.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be gone. What's the latest? Let's do a spin-off of movies.
Okay.
What's the latest you've ever stayed up for to watch a movie?
The latest I've ever stayed up.
Mm-hmm. To like stand in line for opening night or something.
It wasn't very late. It was long.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. So it was, I think it was 2003 when The Return of the King came out.
Yep.
Lord of the Rings, Return of the King. And at that time, like just getting out of high school, I had a job where I was an overnight manager in a warehouse. So I told my friends and everybody that I was with that like, hey, I'll get off work and I'll go right to the theater and I'll stand in line for seats. Because this was before the brilliant, another thing Megaplex did, assigned seating, where you could go in and buy a specific seat. This was before that age of like where you stood in line and your ass ran into the theater to get the best seats. So I stood in line for, I would dare say, had to have been 8 or 9 hours.
After working overnight.
After working overnight, yeah. Yeah, so I got off at 7 in the morning, and I drove to the theater and got in line by 8:30. And then the movie started around, I think, 6 or 7. So
that's mad respect right there. You're just standing in line all day.
Yeah. Well, granted, I was like, there was someone else before me too. That was the crazy thing. I was like third in line.
Wow.
Yeah. And then obviously, like when people got off work, they get back in line. They got in line with me and all that stuff. So, but I just remember that I was struggling to stay awake to finish the movie. Because that movie was long, too.
Oh, yeah.
Luckily, I did not have to work the next day. This was, like, over the weekend.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, okay, I can sacrifice, like, a day of sleep. And then, you still have 2 days to recover. So, that's when you're, in your 20s, 19, 20 years old.
Yeah, it's easier when you're that old.
Yeah, exactly. But how about you? What's the latest you've ever gone to a movie?
Well, Tolkien got us both. For me, it was The Hobbit.
Okay.
And I was working at Trader Joe's then, and I had some 8 a.m. shift the next day.
Uh-huh.
But I somehow thought it would be great to like go see the midnight showing
of The Hobbit. The 2.5, 3 hour Hobbit movie.
So it was 4 a.m. by the time like I was done, and I was a zombie the next day.
Yeah, you're like, I'm just gonna go to the parking lot and sleep.
Yeah, it was interesting. I remember that vividly. I remember working the next day very vividly, but I felt like I was unconscious for most of the day.
Yeah, no, I definitely remember some of those days too. Yeah, stinking Tolkien.
Yeah.
Man, those fantasy books and
The books are
movies.
long. The movies are long.
Yeah.
It's all good.
Yeah, it's all
I
good.
don't regret it.
No, because you build those like fun memories and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Like I remember even, like I think it was for my 14th or 15th birthday. Like my parents tried to surprise me with going to see the newly remastered Star Wars, A New Hope.
Oh.
When they like digitally remastered them and
Remastered it.
re-released them into the theaters. We went to the theater that's now REI. You know where REI is by Southtown Mall.
Yep.
They used to be a theater.
Wow.
Yeah, so we went there, and like I kept seeing my friends trying to hide, and I was like, "What's going on?" They're like, "Okay, well, your friends are meeting us here, and we're going to the movies." And I was like, "Oh, okay, cool." So they're like trying to be sneaky and hide, and I was like, "That was so and so." I was like, "That was Matt. That was my buddy Matt." And that was Dustin. I'm like, what are they doing here? Like, oh, well, we tried to make a surprise party, but we're gonna go to the movies. And I was like, oh, cool, yeah. So yeah, I love movies. I love going to the movies. I love watching movies. They're just a lot of fun. It's a great way to escape. Like, I like movies that. I like all sorts of movies, to be quite honest with you. I like the movies that are just mindless fun. I like the movies that make you feel stupid by watching it. And I like the movies that, create some thought-provoking, like, thinking. Like, make you think a little bit. I don't like movies that, like, constantly make me feel embarrassed.
Really?
Yeah.
You feel embarrassed by movies?
Yeah. Like, I feel embarrassed for the character.
Really?
Yeah, like the worst one, and I won't watch it. Like I refuse to watch it. Is Meet the Parents.
Oh.
I made it through half of it, and I'm like, I gotta leave. Like, dude, I feel so awkward and bad for this dude because like nothing goes right for him, nothing, and it's like he's trying so hard to do the right thing, and nothing's going right, and you're just like, God, I can't keep seeing this dude suffer like this. So I have a really hard time watching like movies like Meet the Parents.
Really?
Yeah. Like Ben Stiller is like the king of that comedy though.
Yeah.
Like all his movies are like that apparently. I mean, there's funny lines in it, like, when they're playing the water volleyball and he spikes the ball into the lady's nose and they're like, damn it, Fokker. And so, I mean, there's funny lines in it, but like overall, I can't do it.
You just
I just can't do it.
Interesting.
And there's very few movies where I'm like, I just can't watch it.
Huh.
Yeah. That and the Royal Tannenbaums.
Oh.
That's just I didn't get it.
You just don't get it?
No. I was like, this is dumb. So.
Well, comment below what your top 5 snacks are. Let us know if you got any secrets to getting the movie snacks going, and did you sneak food into?
Or what's the oddest thing you've ever brought into a movie? Like, did you bring like leftovers, chicken dinner to a theater? Did you bring a laptop? Like, or were you one of those people that tried to record the movies? Like, I've never done that. I've never wanted to, but yeah, comment what some of your crazy movie theater stories you've had. That'll be fun to watch or fun to listen to. So, moving on, our next section is the Ask the Senseis. So we've got 3 questions here. One of them is actually from my wife. She goes, "You guys should talk about this." And I was like, oh, "Okay, well, we'll see." So the first question is from her, and is, "What do you guys think of the TikTok ban?"
Wow. Well, I don't use TikTok, so I don't feel like it's big for me, but I can see both sides of it. I definitely feel like there's a positive and a negative to it, but it's also, I think we just need to evaluate how we're using it.
No, I agree. It's like I had TikTok at one point, and then my algorithm went so way kind of dark and just like doom and gloom that Shanna actually was like, "You're being a jerk. You need to get off TikTok." I was like, whatever, don't tell me what to do. And blah, blah, blah. And I was all like, no, you're right. And after we had that conversation, I deleted it, and I haven't been back on it since. And I don't think people should regulate what they have the freedom to consume, unless it's illegal, obviously. You know, we're not talking about illegal consumption of materials, but like social media, it's hard to regulate what you should or should not be listening or watching. But at the same time, I don't think it's very healthy for a lot of people to put this much time and effort into a social media platform or a TikTok. You know, people are like, oh, because, you know, the argument is like, what good is coming out of it? Then people are like, well, you can make money out of it. You can make a living. You can be an influencer. Like, okay, if you're going to be an influencer, that's fine. What kind of influencer are you being?
What kind of influence are you putting?
Exactly. Are you creating positive change, or are you just like shaking your body parts all over the place? Are you pulling pranks? Or are you helping other people become better?
Right.
You know, and I've seen some of them. It's interesting because I've seen this one. Oh, I think his name's, what is it, Mr. Beast? Well, there's a couple of them that they just walk around and they just give money to people. And if they're like, hey, if you're following me, we'll give you more money. And it's like, that's awesome. But then at the same time, it's like, how do they have this excess money to just give away to people? Like, who's funding them? So you have to be careful of the content you're consuming when it comes to social media and just the media in general. I mean, we don't even have to talk about social media, just media in general. Are you putting positive consumption into your brain, or are you putting negative consumption into your brain? And those are the biggest questions you kind of have to ask yourself, is like, how are we filling ourselves up?
Yeah.
Yeah. Are we filling ourselves up with positive content that's helping improve ourselves? Or are we just filling ourselves with mindless content that's just sucking away time from our lives?
Yeah. And the algorithms in many of these social media accounts, they're not innocent is the word I'd say. YouTube is one I constantly fight with, because I like certain videos and then it shows me videos that are related to those that I don't like.
Yeah.
And it just goes down these rabbit holes so fast. I think TikTok as an algorithm itself was very biased against education in the US.
Yeah.
I think like when I had TikTok, I explored it. I realized it wasn't for me. It was difficult to find anything of substance.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, there's those quick facts, there's all these things, but at the end of the day, that's not taking you anywhere.
No.
But if there was like a breakdown of the Pythagorean theorem or something that allegedly the users in other countries are getting, like the algorithm's biased just to our country.
No, yeah, and I've even heard of reports that exactly that kind of rhetoric, where they've looked at content from around the world, and they've looked at content from, you know, Asian countries specifically, and they looked at the content that these platforms are sending to these kids, and they're sending them educational videos of like medicine, science, math, engineering, music, art, things that can enrich them if it's done properly. And then you see the content that's being filtered to American kids, and it's like the latest trends, how to keep up on fashion, like what celebrity's doing this, and it's like stuff that doesn't necessarily enhance their life in terms of gives it value.
Right.
And I'm not trying to like put down people that are like, you know, follow celebrities and stuff like that. But at the same time, it's like you have to understand that they're them, And by following them, are they helping you become where you want to be, what you want to become in life?
Yeah.
So, and some celebrities are like that, apparently.
Yeah.
Where they put out good content and they talk about how to enrich your life and make things better. And, I applaud those people. And then, there's just some that are just like me because I'm beautiful. And, my last name's a certain something. And I've got I look a certain way. And it's one of those things to where, do I have an opinion on it? Yes. The TikTok ban, yes and no. I don't think anybody should regulate that whole freedom of speech. And it's if people want to say a certain something, they should have the right and ability to say that something, just like you should have the right and the ability to hear that something.
Mm-hmm.
Whether or not I agree with it or not, that's not my decision.
Right.
Okay. I can't regulate what other people should believe.
Right.
Okay. In fact, my mom says this the best. We have topic discussions like this where she says you can't regulate morality.
Huh.
Okay. And this is one of those things. It's people want to have that mindless content because they've just had a, 12-hour day of dealing with let's say hospital workers, nurses.
Yep.
Nurses have every right to get on TikTok and be like, I need mindless content for 2 hours. Why? Because they've just dealt with sick and dying people for 12 hours. It's yeah, take a break. Okay. Then we have those people that don't do anything and they just consume mindless content for 12 hours.
Right.
And it's okay, there needs to be a balance. So, yeah, I don't think government should be banning it.
Mm-mm.
But at the same time, I think people need to be aware of what they're consuming.
Yeah.
At the same time.
That goes for, I think that's a good statement to put towards anything. It's
exactly.
Don't regulate it. Leave it to the individual to say, is this valuable to me?
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And what's valuable to you is not valuable to somebody else.
Exactly.
So you can't be well, that's bad for you. Well, that's
just your opinion.
It's your opinion. It could be good for you. I don't know. But that's up to the individual. But yeah, to have people that have nothing to do with your life come in and be nope, can't do it. I have a hard time with that. So, but let us know what you guys think about the ban on stuff. I mean, we'd even get into this whole cryptic, oh, it's owned by China or anything like that. It's we don't even need to get down that path to talk about why it should or shouldn't be banned anyways. So
I'd approach it from, is it following our motto?
Yeah, exactly.
Is it making someone better?
Yes.
Or is it building better people?
Yeah. Or you could go by the old, I can't remember when they had these wristbands. Remember the WWJD?
Oh, yeah.
What would Jesus do? Would Jesus be a TikTok influencer? I don't know. We'll have to see.
He's trying to be an influencer to the world, yeah.
Exactly. So, all right, next question is, what are the 3 best things that you have experienced from your training?
3 best things that I've experienced from my training.
Yeah.
Huh, okay. This is an interesting one because mine are pretty generic.
Mm-hmm.
I'm stronger because of my training. I feel more accomplished because of my training.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm way more confident because of my training. Those, I think, are the 3 best things that I've experienced. I think those are the core, but then there's so many other things, right? The relationships, meeting new people, going to events and learning how to perform in front of others. There's many more than 3, but I think the core 3 are those.
Yeah, and those are very good answers too. I mean, because you've gotten a lot stronger since you started training again. A lot stronger. In that sense of accomplishment. I mean, when you get black belt, until you've experienced the test, the going through the ranks, the long hours in classes, and then to put that belt on, nobody quite really understands what that means, because you could oh, it's just a belt, whatever, it's just a belt. Yeah, you could say that, but it's way more than just putting on a belt.
Oh, yeah.
Okay? Way more than just putting on a belt. In fact, you've become a talking point for your entire family. And people are like, no, you haven't. Like, I guarantee you do. Okay? Like, let's take for when you got your black belt. I guarantee your parents will tell just about everybody, yeah, my son does martial arts and he's a black belt.
Mm-hmm.
That will come up all the time.
Yeah.
But very rarely will they be like, yeah, my son does martial arts. He's a brown belt.
Right.
Very rarely will that ever happen.
Proud parent of a purple belt
Yeah,
martial artist.
exactly.
Granted,
And there's nothing wrong with being a
There's nothing
purple
wrong.
or a brown belt, but there's something to be said about getting to black.
yeah.
Because not everybody does it.
Right.
Okay. Now, I'm not comparing ourselves to like those elite groups in the military, but to call yourself like a SEAL is a badge of honor.
Yeah.
Why? Not everybody
Not
gets to
everybody
be a
gets to
SEAL.
do it.
You know, same thing with like Army Rangers,
Mm-hmm.
you know, Marine Scout Snipers, like any type of elite group, they should feel proud to call themselves that. And everybody that they know says they know somebody that's that. Yeah, my buddy, he's a SEAL.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the second thing out of their mouth. My buddy, he's a SEAL. Or my buddy, he's a Army Ranger. You know?
Yeah.
It's the same thing with getting your black belt. Be like, yeah, my buddy, he's a black belt.
Yeah.
Like, well, hi. That's a nice way to introduce me to your friend, but hi, black belt.
I actually just called.
My name's Stephen,
Yeah.
by the way. Thank you. Stephen Black Belt. Black Belt's my middle name. Yeah. Yeah, so truthfully, that whole like goals and confidence, that's one of mine too. Confidence by far is one of mine. Because when you get good at something, and you know you're good at something, because you have the rank to show it, oh man, you just start developing this confidence of like, you don't really care where something goes or what something happens, or it's like, I'm good. Like, I can handle myself.
Yep.
It doesn't matter. You know, I always remember when coming up through the ranks, all of my guy friends, everybody I knew, they would always make fun of me for training.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Like, oh, you got to go to your martial arts
Go to your
class?
karate
Like,
school, huh?
here comes the next karate kid. Like, oh, my God, just shut up. You know, they'd always ask me if I'd got my my pink belt and my fuchsia belt and this
There
and
you
that.
go.
I'm like, no. And now they don't make fun of me anymore. Oh, I wonder why. And it's like, yeah, I've been doing this for almost 20 years. It's like I should be good at it. So yeah, confidence for me, yep, that's up there. It's interesting because when you've taught for so long, like you get this sense of like fulfillment when you see other people succeed.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Because I remember I used to teach this lady. Oh man, I wish I could remember her name. I want to say it was Mary Jane or Mary Jo. She used to work at this dry cleaners over on 90th South in West Jordan. And I remember I went in there, asked to put a box in and this and that, and we just started talking. And eventually she came over and she started training with her two kids. And it's because she was assaulted by her ex-husband, and like very badly assaulted. Like she had, chunks of hair missing out of her scalp because he yanked her hair, and just a bad assault. And I remember working with her, and we'd practice, and we were doing stuff, and she only was able to make it up to about orange belt, and then she ended up moving. But she came back to the studio about 3 or 4 years later, And she told me this story about how she ended up moving down south. She met a great person. They got married. They're happily married. And she started teaching women in her community to defend themselves. And she said that she walked into a bathroom and she saw her reflection in the mirror, and she almost didn't recognize herself because she felt like a completely different person. And it was one of those things where you're just like, wow, like that's really cool. And like she goes, that was because of you. And I was like, it wasn't because of me. I go, I helped get the boat going.
Might have shown you the road, but I didn't take the steps.
You drove down that road and changed yourself into what you are. But it's like you have to understand that you will have such an impact on people that you have no idea what that impact is. And that sense of fulfillment and gratitude goes a long, man, it goes a long way. Like you've been teaching pretty consistently now for about a year or more.
Yeah.
Like, I don't even think we've realized the amount of depth of change you've made in the people's lives you've touched. You know? Sometimes you'll never know because you'll never see them again.
Right.
But yet, their life is different and better because you've had a chance to train with them.
Wow.
You know, sometimes they'll come back and tell you, and you're like, "Oh my God, that's amazing," and you feel good, but yet you're like, "But I didn't do anything. Like I helped just show you the way.
Yeah.
Like you had to walk the path, not
right.
me." So, my last thing I would dare say that the coolest thing that or the best thing about my training has been is I'm just going to honestly go back to that confidence, because the longer I'm in this, the more confidence I'm getting, because a lot of the people I started with don't do it anymore. And it's one of those things to where it's like, you're like, I'm looking at this group of instructors that we have now versus when we started. There's one remaining. His name's Master Martin. He's the only instructor from our core group of Utah instructors from when I started still doing it. Or at least with us.
Mm-hmm.
There's a couple out there that are still teaching, and we had some damn good instructors, like physically talented, good looking guys and women that you're like, how could this not work for them? Then you look at yourself and you're just like, I'm average.
Yeah.
Like at best. It's like, I feel like I'm right in the middle of everybody. I'm not the worst person here, and I'm definitely not the best person here. I'm like right in the middle of the road. And then you have to ask yourself, you're like, man, God, like how have I been able to make it work when they haven't?
Mm-hmm.
And they had everything going for them. And you're just like, so for me, it's that like, I hated seeing them leave.
Yeah.
But every person that left, I was like, I gained more confidence because I'm still here.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That's an interesting perspective.
And it shouldn't be that way. It'd be like when someone leaves, it'd be like it should tear down your confidence. But it's now for me, when I see an instructor pack it in or whatever, I'd feel sad for him and I'd miss him and this and that. But at the same time, I'm like, I'm still here. And that made me feel good. So, yeah, it's definitely an interesting thing. But yeah, confidence by far is the number one thing. Mm-hmm. The best thing I've gotten.
That's awesome.
From the training that I've gotten. So, last question kind of goes back into what I was just ending with, is with people leaving. So the last question is, do you ever get emotional when students stop training?
Yes and no.
Yeah?
Yeah, it stings a bit, especially when it's like a student that's been here for a while.
Mm-hmm.
Let's take the students that are going to graduate this year without naming any names. It's like they started probably when I started, some soon after.
Mm-hmm.
Some have just excelled through the ranks, like showing off, like you just mentioned, like they're more physically there.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, you're gifted and you're smart and you work hard.
Yeah.
So it's like, why are you quitting? But at the same time, it's like, I'm not going to be emotional for it because I know it happens.
Yeah.
It's like I'm not going to get hung up on it because then it's like I want my will on your life, not what you want to do. I want to do what I want you to do.
Exactly. Yeah, no, I'm right there with you. It is sad. And sometimes, like, depending on how long they've stayed and this and that, you're like, it kind of tugs at your heart.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, it's like, people are people, and you do your best to keep them around and keep them happy and keep them training. But if you got just all upset after everybody quit, this isn't the career for you.
No.
Because people start and stop all the time.
Yeah.
All the time. The best thing to do is be like, okay, what could I have done to make them stay longer? Is there anything I could have done to make them stay longer? And if the answer is yes, you identify it and you correct it. If the answer is no, like we'll take the kids graduating.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing we can do to keep them here.
They're moving on to the next chapter of their life.
Yeah, because one of them's going to college in Utah State, and driving down to South Jordan from Utah State is not a very feasible option. 2 of them are going on LDS missions for 2 years. There's nothing we can do about that.
That's right.
So the fact that they're moving on with the next stage of their life, nothing we could have done in their training could have made them stay longer. But everybody else, we could look at it and be like, could I have done something different with their training to help their training experience better? If the answer is yes, let's identify it, let's work on it, and let's make sure that it doesn't happen to the next person. So as much as it sucks to have someone quit, when they quit and you do what we just talked about, in essence, you're becoming better.
Yeah.
Or theoretically, you should be becoming better. So you don't want to enjoy people quitting by any stretch of the imagination. I hate it. I hate to see people quit. Because again, kind of like what you were talking about, it's like I know how much good martial arts can do for them. Then I'm like, why would they want to stop this?
If it does as much for me as it does for them, it probably does more for them.
Yeah, exactly.
Like I'm just stubborn, but it probably does more for them.
Oh, by far.
It's like everyone benefits more than me. And so it pains you when it's like, oh, they're quitting.
Yeah.
But at the same time, if you let them go, and it's the same thing. If it was meant to be, you let it go and it comes back, right?
Yeah.
It's like that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm an example of that because I came back after 4 years of non-activity.
Yeah, that's true.
It's like I didn't forget it. Now if I had gotten like an earful and been like, oh, you quitter, then maybe it would have changed my perspective on it.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, oh, what the hell are you doing, Steve? Quitting already?
Yeah.
Then it's like, oh, maybe it's not for me. But if it's like, we understand, and it's like, we're going forward with it.
Yeah.
Wish you the best. Hope to see you around. Don't be a stranger.
You always want to have, when people leave, and again, people always leave, you never want to have them leave with a bad taste in their mouth. That you want them to stop training or leave knowing that, like, you're their best friend.
Yeah.
You can think of it that way because I truly do care about every single person that walks in this door.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Everybody that walks in, you're like, they're a part of the family now, and how can I make them the best version of themselves?
That's right.
And that's just how it is. And when they leave, you feel like you're losing a family member.
Yeah.
Okay? But at the same time, it's like, I can't get hung up on one person that decided to not train. Because if I did, I would have no students because I'd be too sad to talk to anybody.
Right.
Like, I won't talk to you because you'll just leave me anyways.
I don't want to hurt myself again.
And again, that comes with the confidence from your training, being like, okay, let's take a look at it.
Mm-hmm.
Let's evaluate it. Let's improve it. Because if you do that, you'll always have students to train. Okay? But if you're just like wallowing in self-pity, or if you're just name calling and blaming them, be like, oh, you're a big quitter, that won't get you anywhere. So, yeah, so the answer to the question is yes and no. You do get a little bit of emotional, but you can't be emotional moving forward.
That's right.
You know, because you've got stuff to do, you've got goals to accomplish, you've got stuff to take care of. You can't get hung up on students that don't want to train. Okay. Now, do you do your best to make sure that that doesn't happen? Of course.
That's right.
But at the same time, students will always start and stop. Always start and stop. We just want that start and stopping to be years apart.
Right.
Not months apart.
Right.
Okay. You want them to start and then quit maybe 5 years later.
Yeah.
I would love for nobody to quit, but that's on an unrealistic pipe dream.
Yeah.
So, and then recognize you'll have circumstances where you're like, what do you mean you got to stop? And you're like, well, you're right. There's nothing I can do about that.
Yeah.
Like, oh, my mom and dad got a divorce and I got to go live with my mom and she moved to, Springville. Oh, yeah, that sucks. Sorry. Or, hey, I'm graduating and I'm going on a mission.
Yeah.
That really sucks. Now, so for those of you guys that don't know, the LDS Church does a two-year voluntary mission service. Okay, and I was telling one of the parents of the kids that are going, I go, I have a very much love-hate relationship with LDS missions. I go, first off, I think they're great because they get these 18, 19-year-old kids that think they know it all, and they throw them into a place that they have no idea. They give them a chance to experience real-world stuff. Because Utah is a very safe place. Okay? So, and sometimes people get a misconception of the actual world itself. Oh, they wouldn't do that. That's really mean. Why would somebody do something that mean? I agree. Why would somebody do something that mean? But they did.
But it's happening.
Yeah. So I think it's great that it gets these young adults out of the house effectively. It gets them serving something else, serving something higher than themselves and all that. But what I don't like is that it's 2 years. 2 years, and it takes them away from the prime of their life. So, like, let's say they were an athlete.
Mm-hmm.
Well, now they can go to college for 1 year, but then they're gone for 2. That happens a lot here with Utah sports. Like, we had a Utah Utes who's now a Philadelphia Eagle, by the way. Go Birds. His name's Brenton Covey. He played his freshman year, and then he went on a 2-year oh, shoot, I forgot the word real fast. 2-year mission. There we go. Like, why can't I think of the word? He went on a 2-year mission. But luckily, he kept himself in good enough shape that he was able to come back and continue finishing playing and obviously get drafted. So, and everybody looks at him and they're like, you're how old? Because they're like, he's only been in the league for like so many years. So they're like, okay, if he's been in the league for 5 years, he should be like 27 or something. He's like, no, I'm like 32. They're like, what?
Yep.
So, yeah, that's my love-hate relationship with LDS missions. I think they're great on one hand, and I don't think they should go anywhere. Selfishly, we're losing 2 students to LDS missions, so we're like, and they're 2 great students. 2 great students, and it's just like, dang it. I don't want to lose it to that.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, those were I thought very great questions this week. Created a lot of dialogue and discussion, some very thought-provoking statements I was able to hear. But let us know what you guys think about these topics. If you've been in martial arts and you have done some teaching, how do you feel when you lose students? If you do train, what's been the best things that you've gotten out of your training? And that has nothing to do with martial arts, but it does have to do with making the world a better place. What do you think of the TikTok ban?
Yeah.
So,
what other things that you want two senseis, two instructors to talk about, post your questions in the comments or email us at TruTalkTuesdays@gmail.com.
Yeah. Don't forget to like us and subscribe on YouTube and Spotify.
Mm-hmm.
And we've got
about
Amazon Music.
Yep.
We have gotten the Apple thing set up, but now we just need to get the ability to post podcasts on the Apple network, whatever that is, whatever they're calling it nowadays.
Work in progress.
Yeah, work in progress. Just a quick little possible spoiler. We'll have 3 guests in the studio next week. So we're going to start introducing some of the other chief instructors with United Studios. So next week we're going to have the West Jordan crew join us.
How exciting.
Yeah, so now that I put it out there, now we can't miss it, guys.
Can't make us go back on our word
exactly.
now. It's public.
So we'll have Sensei Nick, Sensei Eddie, and Sensei Martine in the studio. Get a chance to ask them all sorts of cool questions. And we'll take her from there. But thank you for spending the time listening to us on this wonderful day. And go out there and make the best day that you can. Become the best version that you can. And make sure to kick it back with us next time.
Kick it with us next time. Bye, everyone.